Okay, everyone. Okay, so this is the webinar. Now, basically, this webinar is I'm going to talk about what is SEO, but the webinar is how to attract clients by putting really effective SEO into your website or blog, right? So what I'm going to do is talk a little bit about what SEO is and maybe kind of, how can you say, eliminate a few myths and also misunderstanding around SEO. So basically, SEO is what we call search engine optimization, and it's a way to get easily found through search engines, for example, Google, Yahoo, Bing. There used to be a lot more search engines, but through the years, a lot of these things have changed. And to be honest, most people use Google, okay? And if you get your, if you do effective SEO and effective search engine optimization, it's basically a way to get more natural and what we call organic or free traffic through the search engines. Now, one of the things that I know is that marketing, particularly probably the way people have went the last 5 years, is that a lot of people are so busy marketing their business on social media, they actually forget about Google and how Google is another effective way to advertise. And often you've got to think about your client audience. Not everyone actually uses things like social media and Facebook, even though there is many people that do. It's not always the be-all and end-all for marketing. And one of the things that I do know is in the holistic industry, it really does depend on what you're actually doing. But there is many types of therapies, coaching and healing in the holistic and spiritual industry, if you can call it that in a way are struggling to be visible. And there's a huge kind of saturation or increase in people going down into the holistic and healing therapy industry. And the easiest way I can explain it is that, I started to go down the holistic industry, it was at least 30 years ago. And the first modality that I was introduced to was Reiki and meditation. Now, at that point, to get a Reiki practitioner, I had to travel 30 to 40 miles to get someone. Now I can honestly say there's actually hundreds in my small town of, Reiki therapists. So that just gives you an idea of the huge change in the industry. And even though in many ways it's great that the holistic industry has changed and it's sort of, how could you say, more easily accessible, what it often means for certain types of therapists and healers and coaches or holistic businesses is that you have to stand out more effectively, or you need to advertise more wisely, okay? I remember even when I learned Reiki, the person who taught me actually brought a woman called Mary Hall over from America to teach me, and that was kind of normal because there wasn't as many people who had taught. It was very different then. You didn't become a master teacher in just a couple of years. It took many years. It was very different. But that just gives you an example of how things have changed. Okay. Now, if we look at even the World Wide Web, now, if we think about to be found on the internet, or what we call the World Wide Web, if you think about it as a world, right? And your business or your website or even your blog is a little tiny, tiny pinpoint on that map, right? Or that world, okay? And how are you actually found? I one of the things that I realised when I started helping other, business owners was a lot of naivety around the internet and even social media and the World Wide Web. And I think it was because people don't maybe understand the fundamentals or see it as a wider picture. I'm very lucky. I started to use the internet to create websites about 22 years ago. And when I first started my holistic business, self-employed, that was the first thing I did. So I spent a lot of many hours, studying SEO and understanding, the theory behind it. And the easiest way to think about it is that your little site or your blog is just a little, like almost, you've set up route. If you can imagine if you think about like a countryside or a rural place, right, and you've suddenly built a little home, right, but there's no roads there, and you've got to create roads, right? That is what it's like on the World Wide Web, on the internet, right? And you have to start building little roads and little links so that people find you, okay? Now, if you think about the world, it's easier to find a country than it is a city on a map or in the world, if you look at the globe, right? And it's easier to find a city than it is a town. And it's easier to find a town than a village, okay? And if you think about, a country, a city, a town, what makes it easy for people to find these places? And it's basically more connections, more roads, but not even the amount of roads, but good quality roads. Roads that people would go on to find you, okay? And that's the easiest way that I can explain that the internet's like. And what a lot of people think is they set up a blog or a website and they think people are just going to find them. And there's a lot of misunderstanding. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And they assume a lot of things that's not actually correct. So what happens is a lot of people set up websites. And first of all, one of the things that I've been shocked is a lot of people designing people's website and not doing any SEO or telling them that they need to do SEO. And basically, we're talking about people, I've seen people, spend £5,000 and £6,000 on a website and there's no SEO, which is really bad when it's spent that amount of money. And basically what's happened is they've maybe got a really nice looking website, but the website is not functional because no one can find it unless they're already just promoting it. But a website, if it's working effectively, okay, and it has the right connections, should be able to be found for what maybe someone's searching for. So for example, if you are, say for example, a hypnotherapist, a yoga teacher, a Reiki practitioner, that someone can put in search engines, and maybe you're someone who practices, in a physical clinic, they can put, the area and the type of therapy that you use, and you will come up in the search engines, okay? And obviously the higher you come up, and in the first page, if you can come up in the first page, the better, because you're more likely for someone to phone you rather than someone else, okay? Now, to find your business, you need to be on that map, okay? So you need to be on the search engines, and to be found on the map, you need good SEO. So the better your SEO is, the more you're going to stand out on the map. And also what happens is, it's like, say, if you're going out and you're driving, right, and you suddenly maybe get lost and you discover somewhere else, or you're going along the road and you think, oh, that looks interesting. That is basically what good SEO is, that people actually even accidentally find you along the way. And they're going to buy from you and they go, oh, well, that's actually more like what, oh, I fancy that. That is part of what SEO does. And the thing about good SEO is a long-term investment as well. It's not just short-term investment. I see a lot of people, so focused on the money, the now for their business, they don't actually look at it as a business. They're just looking at getting money in right now. And often what happens, they waste a lot of time and resources and do things in a kind of, maybe a slapdash sort of way, but if they'd done a few simple things while they were doing these things, in the long run, their business is going to grow dramatically. And that's why effective SEO is a good strategy to use when you're building a blog or a website. So I'm going to show you, this is sort of things that I've just took off Google. So here was an example where I put Reiki healer in Lanarkshire, okay, and that's my local area, and these are some people that I do know, okay. Now, if we look at this, these first three are actually paid listings, right? So these people, Cinnabar, and that's Saracen, that's Irene Smith that I know, these people have actually paid to be listed here, okay? And that's one way to do it. Now, to pay for a listing in Google for certain categories, it can be cheaper than others. It depends on what it is, okay? Obviously, advertising for something like Reiki in a small basis in a small region is a lot cheaper than trying to bid for a keyword that is worldwide. And I'll give you an example. I have several websites, and one of the sites that I've got is the World of Health, is a general health information site. So that is actually competing against, we're talking about big multinational companies. So it's harder for me to get high Google rankings on that site because of the type of site it is, because I'm competing against literally millions of people trying to bid for holistic health information. Do you understand? It's worldwide. In a small area like this, it can be easier, but you don't always have to pay. Now, if you want to be on this bit, yeah, of course. I'm going to show you how sometimes you can get your links on your, on these kind of pages on the first page without having to pay, okay, and how it can be possible in certain circumstances, okay? Now, if you look at here, one of the things that's coming up is Reiki Pages. So basically, Reiki Pages is a site that you can actually put your what you do on it. Now, I'm not sure what it does now. I listed my business years ago on Reiki Pages when it was actually free, when that first started. I don't know if it's paid or not now, and I don't do Reiki now. It's been a while since I actually did Reiki anymore. But obviously, if you were listed in Reiki and you had done certain things, you could come up on that, okay? Now, there was quite a few other things, but it was the only way that I could get this to show. And I just wanted to show you how if you put something in the search engines. Now, I'm going to show you one big thing that people make a lot of mistakes. And for some reason, this my bar is not moving, but you obviously seen up here, it said Reiki Healer Lanarkshire. Oh no, I'm not. Sorry, I've moved on to Hypnotherapist Glasgow. One of the big mistakes a lot of people think how Google works is they put their own business name in there. And they think if their business name comes up, they think, oh, great. Now, if you put your business name in Google, yeah, of course it should come up because you're giving it, it's like almost saying, right, go to that town. But how many people, you've got to understand, if you're in a town of, say, maybe, for example, 10,000 people, or you're in an area that could be even bigger than that, and do the 10,000 people know who you are? They don't know you look up your business name. They only are interested in either the form of therapy they want or the problem that they have. And this is another mistake many people make. A lot of people just advertise the actual therapy that they do instead of the problem that they solve, right? So some people do not put in, like Hypnotherapist Glasgow, they might put in like help with stop smoking, help with weight loss, that kind of thing, okay? So you have to know what your audience wants, for starters. But by putting your business name in the search engine, that is not what most people do unless they know you. And that's a completely different, you've already been built up your marketing. Google is great if you do it right for attracting clients that don't know about you but find you through Google. And that is what effective SEO is. And that's where people find you organically and naturally, right? So again, here you can see in this page that Optimind, Glasgow Anxiety Therapy and Roger Foxwell all pay to be listed up here, okay? But you can see here the hypnotherapy in Glasgow is listed up here, okay? So that's another example. Okay, now I'm going to show you an example of one of the sites that I've got, or one of the things that I do in a minute, but I'm going to talk a little bit more about what actual effective SEO is before we move away from this PowerPoint. So effective SEO is basically making sure that you've got search engine optimization on your website, okay? And I'll explain it a little bit further, right? And you've got effective SEO in your blogs, and you also, and this is where a lot of people sometimes, if they get a website designer to build a website, pay for SEO. And all these guys do often is actually just submit your website into like the search engines, and they do it once a month and you pay a small charge. Now, what a lot of people don't realise is that a lot of these guys that are doing this are doing it while they're doing everybody else's that they're doing. And they don't necessarily, it's just going through the search engines. But one of the things that I see when I look at people's websites, often that SEO is missing in most of their site. They've just put random keywords and it's very generic. And if they're designing, similar, would you call it, websites for other people. So for example, if you are a coach, and for example, if you go a certain training school and they offer as part of their package to do your website, and this happens with a lot of health and wellness coaching and sometimes hypnotherapy training schools, and as part of the package you can get, or an extra, you get your website designed. But what often happens is they stick very, very basic keywords, and the same keywords are actually put in for everybody. And so basically you're competing against everybody that was on that training school, right? These guys don't care. These guys are just putting SEO. And often what you find is people that are website designers are actually not really, they don't understand SEO. There's a huge difference, okay? They may know the very basics, but the basics may be no use to you. And one of the things that I've seen is that most people who get their SEO, there's really no SEO there. It's, when you look at it, they would be as well doing nothing, because it's not going to do anything for you, okay? So guest posting is one way that you can also build SEO, particularly if another site has got really good SEO. Now, for various reasons, I used to let some, like if I knew therapists or coaches or healers who I admired, who had, maybe an interesting topic, but I knew their site had low DA, I would let them guest post on my site, because I had a lot higher DA and page authority. And basically, DA and page, PA means domain authority and page authority, okay? So basically they were piggybacking on my site. But often what I realised was actually people undervalued what I was actually doing for them. They didn't realise, and one of the things, this is what happens if you've been in business for a long time and you do things for a certain reason, they don't get it. They don't have a clue how much, traffic they're getting or how that's leveraging their business, because they don't understand what it actually is. But basically, if you do a guest post on another site, particularly if that site has an audience that would be interested in your products, or the guest post is going to help you reach higher up in the search engines, it's a great opportunity to take, because it can save you a lot of money. And sometimes just getting, a few high DA links can really leverage you up quite a bit. It really depends on every industry. And I would say, yes, some things are harder now than what they were maybe 20 years ago, but it depends on your niche, right? So how guest posting helps you raise your domain authority or your page authority and your SEO is that when you put a guest post on someone else's site, you automatically normally get they'll put a backlink on that page back to your site. So basically, if I put any backlinks on my site and those sites are lower, domain authority or page authority, it can actually lift them up. Okay, it depends, but it often lifts up. Now, what I've got to be careful of, and this is the only thing that I didn't realise many years ago, was sometimes it wasn't in my best interest to do that, because what I was doing was letting a lot of people with very low DA or PA go on my site, but I wasn't getting any benefit of it. Okay, so what was happening was theirs was very low, and even though I did do a lot of link building, I was spending so much time letting other people piggyback off me, I wasn't getting as much out of it. Okay, so that's just to let you understand how guest posting works. But also, guest posting can actually, say there was a subject that you felt could bring in an audience but might not be really that relevant on your site. Again, this is where you can use the guest posting to leverage yourself, right? And there's so much, some of this might still feel as if it's a wee bit over your head, but as I go on, you'll maybe understand a little bit better. So if you have links to other sites, and I don't mean you and your site just putting links to other sites, that can work in various ways, but if lots of other places are willing to put links on their sites to your sites that have got higher DA and PA, it is a huge advantage, particularly with their quality content on their sites. Okay. Another way to do it is by putting a comment plugin, right? Now, I use, and I think I mentioned in the next slide, but I use a plugin called Comment Love in a lot of my websites now. I did try the paid version. This is a free version I use, and if you've got a .wordpress.org site, you'll be able to use it. If you've got a wordpress.com, which is actually it's a free site, you'll not be able to do this, or I think you have to pay for the plugin. But Comment Love free version is really good, okay? And I tried the paid version, but for some reason they hadn't upgraded it, so it didn't work with a lot of my sites. So I've just stuck to the free Comment Love plugin. And basically Comment Love, I wonder if I'll show you if I can once I finish this. Basically, it's like at the end of the blog, it provides option for people to not just comment on your posts, but actually to share a backlink of one of their pages or a blog that they've recently written. Now, first of all, what happens is that encourages people to comment on a blog. And comments on a blog, are actually saying to someone, oh, this looks interesting, encourages other people to write, and it encourages other people to look more closely at your content because someone has found it valuable enough to comment. And that's one of the reasons why I encourage, and particularly even like the World of Health blogging group, is to try and encourage people to comment on other people's posts, because commenting on the actual post, not just in social media, can actually help. It's almost like saying to Google, oh, this site has valuable content, I'm interested in it. I think what's happened today is people have got into such a rush and are so bombarded by information, we're not always grateful for the information and content we're reading. And just even a little thank you or saying that was great information or that's helpful information can actually support the person who's written that content. So it's worth thinking about this, okay? Now, if you think about how that plugin works, if you comment on other sites that have a comment plugin and you can link back to your site, then you have a backlink to your site that can help raise your domain authority and page authority. And that's why it's beneficial. Now, the only thing, now I have to, this is be honest, the only thing about comment plugins, sometimes you can get a lot of spam of people trying to add all sorts of things. But if you get the right sort of plugins in your website, you can monitor. So basically, you just kind of go spam, 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 bin. So, most of these plugins, you have to approve. If someone comments, they're not published on your site until you actually approve of them. Now, I have to say, sometimes you'll get more comments from people trying to sell all sorts of things, and sometimes a lot of really inappropriate things. But sometimes it's really worth it, because in the long time, what you're actually doing is building up links. And if you're getting into a career, most people who go into the holistic or spiritual industry are in it because they know they want to be, that their heart's telling them, their soul's telling them that this is the industry they want to be in. And they're not in it just for the short term, they're in it for the long term, okay? So you're looking at it as a long-term investment for your business, because one of the things that happens with content compared to social media is that if you have a blog on the internet, right, your blog, if it's what we call evergreen content that will apply the same, it'll be valuable 5, 10, 15 or 20 years, the longer it's in the search engines, the more traffic it can get. Now, I used to have really, really high hits and traffic to the World of Health, but several years ago, while I was really ill, I actually had it was a Russian malware had attacked my sites, right? Now, I have plugins and things to stop, but this was a very serious malware problem, and it attacked all my sites. And at the time, I had, I think, 4 or 5 sites, and I had to be very ruthless and decide what ones I could afford to go and get somebody to fix, because at the time I couldn't do it. And I let the World of Health go on a couple of my other sites. And what happened, I just let it, it was one of those things, I put the World of Health to the side and left it for a few years. So a lot of the authority lowered down because of that. But I had a lot of blogs that had been on there for, well, if it had been on, they'd been on there for 20 years. And that could have, if I had done it wisely, I could have been still making a lot of money off that, okay? Now, how do you, because you're still thinking, what is SEO and how can I apply SEO to, my website? And I'm going to show you this, I'm going to show you examples, right? But you want to think about your title, okay, for starters. So think about your business name, okay? One of the things that a lot of people don't think about is when they create a business name is that sometimes your business name can be enough to actually be really good SEO. And that was one of the reasons that I, many years ago, chose the World of Health, because I started selling holistic health information products and services. I also ran at the time a Scottish health directory, and I knew that both these titles were effective SEO because it's keywords. So basically, if someone was looking for health, basically I had the World of Health, or I had the Scottish health directory. So if someone was looking for a health directory, that was going to, in Scotland, it was going to be, easier for me to market it through Google, because Google works on people putting keywords into the search engines. Okay, so effective SEO is about, you can use it in your business name, or you can use it in your pages, the titles of your pages, or the titles of your posts. Okay, and there's also what we call your meta tags and keywords, and these are things that depends what kind of website you have. Some people use WordPress, some people use website builders, there are all sorts of things, so it depends on what you're using. And some things are a wee bit slightly different from how it used to be years ago. When I first started out, it was all coding, computer coding you had to do. And believe me, it took a long time, but you would have little sections where you had to code in your title, code in your meta tags and your keywords. Thankfully today it's just a wee thing that will say title or meta tags is description, or keywords and things like that are meta description, right? And I'm going to show you an example of this. And if you put the right keywords that people would be searching through Google, it's going to help. That's the most important thing that you have to do. It's the most basic steps for SEO. But what I found is, obviously people have titles, but they're missing meta tags, meta description, and keywords. So basically, it's not going through Google, right? Another big mistake, and these are all these are things that you would normally learn from somebody that was an SEO expert, is internal linking between your different pages and posts in your site. So basically linking certain keywords in your pages to other pages and posts on your site, and I'll show you how to do that. And another big thing is a lot of people forgetting to put links on their website to their Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter or Pinterest accounts, or any other social media accounts, or making sure that they put on their Facebook, their LinkedIn page, their Twitter, their Pinterest links back to their website. Okay, that's really important. That's another way that people will find you. As I discussed, obviously an extra bonus is backlinks from other sites through guest blogging. Now, another thing that you can do that's probably not as popular now, but it's still a great way to build links, is through directories. And if you look cleverly enough, you can find still free directories online that will list your business. And if the directory offers a link to your website, it's a great opportunity to get a backlink to your site. And as obviously I've already mentioned, is comments. Okay. So I'm going to show you some, but I'm going to just ask you a few questions at the moment, so I'm going to unmute these. I'll ask John first of all. So John, what do you think would be the keywords that you think about putting into maybe your website or some of your blogs or posts? I don't know if John's sound's coming on or not. No, it's not. I can't hear you, John. You can put it on the chat and I'll speak to someone else at the moment, okay? Oh, we're on. John, hello. There was a brief, you come on briefly, there was a sound. John, if you put in the chat, if you're right in the chat, I'll get back to you. Okay, wait to see if I can unmute Lana. Oops, I'm not sorry. I've got to see my cursors. I'm going to just put this back. Please wait a minute. Unmute. Okay, Lana, what about you?
Well, I've just created a WordPress website and I called it Body and Mind Holistics, and because I want to do like massage as well with the relaxation. So for me, it would be like massage, relaxation, stress. I think with what you were saying about use the problem rather than the therapy, it would be, anxious, anxiety, stressed, not sleeping, tension. So I'd use all those words because you could then say, are you feeling X, Y, Z? I can help you overcome that by using, you'd want to put the words of the therapy in, but I'd imagine something like that.
Yeah, now the only thing about Google, so they're great ideas. So you would start off those ideas. So how you would approach it, Lana. So those things that you're thinking, you could do like a what would you call that? Oh, my brain. You know how when you do a little mind map, right? So
Oh, yes,
yeah.
yes.
So what I would suggest is all you start with a mind map. So you start with at the core of what you solve.
Okay.
Right? So you think about, so you'll help people with your stress, anxiety, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got to think, what would someone put in the search engines, right? They might not put in, they might put suggestions for stress relief, but if you're a local therapist, and this is going to say, it depends on what type of business you are, right? So it's about thinking at different layers, but it's a great place to start. But if you're someone who's going to actually be offering, say, for example, more clinic-based therapies, right? A person probably will look for a clinic or therapies or treatments, okay? You'll probably be very different for someone who's actually running a business mostly. So some of us, like my stuff, is all online, right? So it doesn't matter. I'm not in a regional base, so I'm sort of offering, so for example, I'm offering training for therapists, okay? So some of it might be CPD for therapists, training for therapists, that type of thing, right? Because that's what therapists are looking for. And I've got keywords like relaxation therapy training or relaxation therapist training. But what I do know about my industry, a lot of people don't know there is such a thing as a relaxation therapist. So I would put therapist training. I also use a keyword is meditation teacher training. Now, if you look in my training, I do teach youth meditation, but I never ever call people meditation teachers. But obviously when people then look at my content, they actually realise that often that's what they're going to learn out. My course is probably more valuable. Do you understand what I mean? So no, but what you were talking about is like what stress. People don't people put in small keywords and I'm going to show you this. But Lana, what you're talking about is these are ideals for blogs. What you're talking about is ideas more for blogs, right?
Oh, okay.
So sometimes it's about kind of mind mapping and thinking, right, these are all the things that I treat. But what are people actually going to put into the search engine? So I would ask you, if you were going to use Google, for any of the things that you offer, what would you put in?
Massage.
Yeah, because they're obvious, right? Okay.
Yeah, I put the obvious ones, I suppose. But
Yeah.
I always like, if I'm looking for something local, I always put the local town or the county.
Exactly. So one of the biggest things that I see is a lot of people just putting in, for example, hypnotherapy or Reiki, when their keyword should be only their town, because someone's not going to travel the other end of the country just to come and see them if they're a therapy clinic. So there is no point them marketing to an audience that is not going to come to them. Do you understand? So so your town and the name of what you do would be in your keywords for your main site, right?
Okay.
Now, this is where it can get I'm not saying a little bit tricky, but the more you look at the keywords and then see a bigger picture, sometimes it's like looking at all the things and then looking at what your business is or what your main thing that your audience is going to come from. Your blogs are then an added extra of where you can get, how could you say, accidental traffic.
Okay.
Right? So the accidental traffic of someone that needs help to learn how to manage their stress, to understand how to relax. You then are kind of, but what I would say is sometimes some modalities are so obvious that everyone, because you've got to, and it's not trying to say that the public are stupid, but it depends on what level of awareness they have, right? But people do put in the most obvious. Often people want to get a fast track solution and come through the door for a fast track solution. They may then learn when they come into you that then they need to solve their underlying issues, which is their stress problems, and that's where then you get them as a client. But one of the things you find as holistic therapists is that what someone arrives at your door for and what they end up in your door for can be a completely different reason. But sometimes in this industry, it depends on your type of business it is. But if you're a physical clinic, I would say, yeah, sometimes it is the most obvious. It can be slightly different, right? But if you think about it, a lot of people will deliberately go to hypnotherapists for smoke cessation or weight loss. But sometimes people don't think about going to hypnotherapy for other things unless they read something, you know, understand? So it's about education. So it's thinking out the box. So this is where it's about, I'll give you an example, the easiest way to explain it. My father manufactured a thing called fire fogging systems. And I remember years and years ago, he was getting me to help on his website, and he was convinced that he should be putting in his terms, and he wanted to spend a lot of money on advertising for fire fogging systems because that was what his company was called, and that was what his kind of machine, if you imagine, it's called. But the reality was, most people didn't know what a fire fogging system was, right? He presumed that people would put it in the search engines. I checked, and I think it was something like only 5 people in so many years had ever searched Google for that term. So it was a complete waste of money. Do you understand? So you have to think like the consumer. And yes, if it might be something like frozen, you know, somebody might be looking up, how can I, like, say like a frozen shoulder, some people don't realise that a massage therapist could, you know, help with that. I'm just giving an example, right? So a frozen shoulder, somebody might be in a lot of pain and they'll say, what kind of rubs can I get for a frozen shoulder? Now, if you wrote a blog about that and you were clearly based in their area, they might come across that. That's another way, okay? But for you, Lana, I would say, yeah, in this sort of scenario, you're still going to have to make your site basically aimed at the thing that the most obvious things first to get the traffic, if that makes sense. Right? So every industry is slightly different, right? Okay. So I don't know if John's put any comment. Let's see. Okay. Oh, it clears away. So John hasn't put any comment. That's fine. Now, what you've got to think is that sometimes there's some, like, say, even relaxation therapy training, Lana, you'd probably be pushing more teaching people how to relax, teach people to manage the stress, or to, you know, things that are obvious, but it might be other keywords that you wouldn't think of that would go in. Now, the reality is people don't care most of the time what sort of treatment they get, right? They just want a solution. But a person will often put in a keyword they only know. And I'll give you an example. I used to get people would phone, and I done things like Indian head massage other than aromatherapy and Reiki. I would get people phoning asking for Indian head massage, but they actually didn't even know what it was, and they actually get it mixed up with Reiki, right? Now, we're talking maybe about 20 years ago, but one of the first things I would do when people phoned me, I would say to them, right, why do you want this? Okay, right? And I'd get that, you know, feel, and then I'd say, right, okay, well, I would suggest, and then often they would say, oh, right, that actually what I was looking for. I didn't know the name, I think, I couldn't remember. So some people have just heard someone say something can help them, right? So it depends on what sort of, so if anybody's listening who does something that is maybe not classed as a normal or a very common, I know Indian head massage, Reiki is very, very common now, but if you're doing a therapy that most people, the general public, doesn't understand what it is, you can actually cheat and using your keywords, right? Somewhere in your site, you can use keywords of other things that they would be searching for, okay? So for example, maybe somebody was just looking for healing, right? If you're a healer, you don't have to be, if you have an unusual type of healing modality, you could actually put Reiki, because that's what most people will look up, right? What you could do is do a blog that says something like why such and such healing is different from Reiki or something, right? But your keyword in that blog is actually Reiki, right? And this is where you are actually getting round about SEO and still getting the traffic of people that would be are looking for. They just know that that's the only thing they've heard of that could help them, right? Now, what we're going to do is show you what I mean, right? So I'm going to change the share and new share to this one, I think so, right? Okay, so this is, I went onto Google and I'm going to show you something. And, right. This is basically a link to where I used to put my relaxation therapy training. Now, technically, I don't use this Teachable anymore as my platform, but I have a link on this page that goes to my new training. But that is basically an old link, and that doesn't cost me any money, right? Now, I went on to a site, I'll give you an example of what happened. I went on to a site which is it's a keyword, it's a company that does keywords for you, right? And they are supposed to get you at the top on the first page. Well, they don't say the top, they say they'll get you on the first page of Google, right? They wanted to charge me, and they said that I would only get to the front page of Google if I gave them 100. Now, they did say, they came back and said this was a very easy, like it was not highly competitive. It's not, because there's very few people who are relaxation therapy training and offer what I do. So I know that. But they said to me I would need to pay at least £100 a month from them. Now, £100 a month is actually not a lot in advertising. It isn't. So you get a proportion, right? Most people that were a training school would have to spend several £1,000s a month to advertise their training school. That's the reality, and I'll explain, right? But they were saying to me, right, I would have to give them to have enough links. Now, I know I'm already the very first person under there now. That one's a paid post. I'm their second on. So why would I give them £100 a month when I'm already on the first page, right? So now the thing about it, I actually come up twice in this page, so that shows you. So I'm under there and I'm under there. And I think I come up in quite a few, through all the first so many pages in Google, I come up in quite a few. So quite a few, one of the students came back to me who knows a lot about marketing, says to me, Eileen, I kept coming across you all the way through when I searched for relaxation training. So that was really, as he said, it gave him a sense of trust. Now, I run my business from the house because I'm not a big company. So a lot of these companies are big companies, and Learn Direct, I mean, they're a huge company. So this shows you, if you do it right, you know what you're doing, you can bypass. Now, I'm not saying it's as simple for every. This was a good example of a niche industry, right? Okay, but it's been clever about it, right? So, Lana, you just give me an example. What is your town that you live in?
Penrith, Cumbria.
Penrith, Cumbria. Is that where your clinic would be, or is?
Yes. Yeah.
Cumbria, right? And let's put massage. Okay, right. See what comes up. Okay. So now here, this is quite interesting. This is good information to know, right? So right away we see 3 people are advertising here. Okay, so we see someone who's doing Thai massage, acupuncture and massage, and this is where, again, sometimes people don't always think about their web, their site, their business name. Sometimes if you've got a really clever business name, it can say everything you do, right? Okay. Now, I have to be honest, I had relaxation therapy training the domain name. I actually planned last year not to do this again because of health challenges. I let it go, and now a company wants £2,000 off me to buy it back from them, right? So that gives you an example, right? Because it was a really good domain name.
Wow.
Right? Now, I used to buy and sell domain names when I first started in business because I knew the value in them, right? Now, this is where sometimes thinking out, now, if that business was called acupuncture and massage, it probably isn't, but that's what they've actually put on the title there to actually come up. So there, even though it's massage, there you go. What do people come to massage for? For pain often, right? What helps with pain as well? Acupuncture, right? So that's quite clever what they have done, right? Now, if you look under here, someone's listed under Gumtree. Now, I'm sure now to list under Gumtree as a business, it still costs you money, but it's not a lot of money. So here is another way that you could come up on the search engines. Now, they might be coming up because they've been on Gumtree for a while, but it gives you an idea that there's someone's on it. That is something you could try out. Now, I think I might be wrong. I think sometimes some types of advertising are only £5 or £10 a month for Gumtree. I'd have to, I couldn't say that's definitely for sure. I think it depends on what you're advertising. But that's another option where if you thought, I've not really got the time, or, I'll put something up there now. It's a way to look and see what's under. If it's a directory that's underneath, look and see what it costs to be in that directory. Right? Now, again, it doesn't always guarantee you, but it's giving you more likelihood that you're going to come in the first page. So it's about thinking, thinking more cleverly, okay? So let's look at something else that you were going to do. So was it anything else other than relaxation therapy, massage?
I don't know, because just because.
Well, that's fine.
They'd be the umbrellas, if you like.
Yeah, so what we're going to do is put in, I don't know if people with relaxation, I don't like stress management, and there's a reason why I might be adding something to the course. I'm not going to say right away what I'm going to do, but there is something. A lot of people may put in stress management. They may not, it's not always, but if you look, right, so here, for example, there is no adverts on this page, right? So nobody is putting in for stress management. Now, even just stress, let's see, right? Could be in stress classes, right? Now, again, there's no advertising here. These are all.
Sorry to interrupt, Elaine. Does that mean it's good or bad that there's no one has paid to advertise?
It's good because you can normally link at the top if you have effective SEO. Right, so at the moment, no one's competing for that. Right. So what we could do is, so say, for example, stress classes. Okay. And then we can put even in relaxation as well. Stress classes. Okay. Right. Okay. Again, it's Cumbria Stress and Trauma Centres coming up. Right. Now, it would be great if you could link with Cumbria Stress and Trauma Centre, but you might not, they might not let you. Sometimes these kind of organisations, it depends if they're psychologists that do it, they will only put people that have, but they're at the top. But even if you down here, Eventbrite, so someone's class has been, they've advertised on Eventbrite and they've been mentioned there. Okay, there's someone doing mindfulness, so you could even put as meditation classes, right? Now, what you're doing is, it doesn't mean that you actually have in your title meditation, but you've got somewhere on your site, either on a blog title or a page, you have wrote about meditation classes or meditation, and you use it, right? So it doesn't necessarily say that so it could be, I teach relaxation and meditation or something, skills or something, right? So it's thinking cleverly, right? So
yeah, because with my website, like I've just paid to register it, but I'm building it myself with WordPress. I've called it Body and Mind Holistics because I want to use the angle of everything you do for your body helps your mind, and everything you do for your mind helps your body. So I want to sort of interlink it.
Yes. And it's fine. Yeah, that's fine. It's just, and it still gives that concept. And of course, Lan, I totally understand that. And you've got to do that. It's just when I'm talking about these other things, it's just sometimes it's like, I've put pages up and said, now I actually called one of my Facebook pages at one time, it's changed to Meditation Library, but I think it was meditation classes, Lanark. And that's what I called my Facebook page, because what did I knew people were going to put in? Meditation.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if I've made my website name too generic, too descriptive, but not in the right way.
You might not have, right? This is just, so remember, SEO is just one part of it, right?
So as long as I get if I get the keywords in the like page titles,
yes.
Maybe I shouldn't get hung up about the website title.
You've decided on that, but one of the things, you might want to change things later on. I'll be honest, it's like stress coach, right? I was doing most of my work at one point with stress coach, and I've put stress coach training, but I will be honest, I get more inquiries of the people looking for training in stress coaching. But stress coaching would be a hell of a lot more harder for me to teach as a small business, because coaching would need a lot more, how could you say, interactive one-to-one, right? It's a different type of, so for me to offer a stress coach training, I would have to charge probably at least 4 to 5 times what I would be the relaxation training. And for me, because of certain circumstances, it's just not been feasible. But I have to say, that probably as a business would have been now far more effective, because of the hits that I get for people who want to be stress coaches, which is a specialised field. So from a business point of view, yeah, but that's been a business I've held for a long time. There's lots of reasons why I haven't changed that. And sometimes it's, your business evolves, and sometimes you just have to say, well, I can't keep changing it, and there's reasons why. But these are all things worth knowing. But I think when you actually see, when you look through, you can get ideas. And what you've got to understand is that keywords don't necessarily need to be your title of your business, but sometimes it can be a clever way to be found. So like say Cumbria Yoga, that is then really easy to be found. But the only thing is, if the person has effective SEO, if they haven't, well, if they didn't have SEO on their site, nobody would find Cumbria Yoga.
I also wanted something that was transportable, because we might be moving.
Yeah, right, yes. And what you want, exactly. So if you decided to go online, then, so there's some titles can really hold people back. I'll be honest, a lot of people suggested to me that I used my name, and I used it for one site, right? And everybody kept saying, Eileen, you've been in the business long enough that people, you're not like starting out, people kind of know you've got a lot of experience behind it, use your name. But I'll be honest, even though that was the case, I don't know if it was the wisest thing, because I think still, unless you are a multinational company and you have, really doesn't matter. I think probably it wasn't, that was somebody else, other people's idea of that, not really understanding marketing fully and understanding how the market is really saturated in this kind of industry. Did it really help? Not really. I've got 2 sites, and I have another one, it offers the same things, and it was just, I started a site called Sense of Souls Coach. There's hardly any blogs in that. The one that's got Eileen Burns, even though that was promoted far more, gets less traffic than what the Sense of Souls does, because people were looking up sensitives, right? So you understand? So it depends, right? So these are just, key things about you can do. Now, what I was going to show you, I don't want to keep these, I know I'm just a wee bit over. I'm going to just show you something inside your WordPress site, okay? So what I'm going to define here is there's a complete difference between WordPress.org and WordPress.com. WordPress.org means that you own the site and it's on your hosting space. .com is often free sites that's on hosting space, so you don't get all the plugins. The great thing about .org is that you can often get lots of free plugins, and as you can see, I have 10 plugins, okay? Now, I'm going to show you some little tips, and I'm just going to show, now this is a site I don't post a lot of things, but I'm going to show you some posts and simple things that you can do between, the latest blog, I'm going to show you the latest blog, and things that you can do to connect it up with other pages. Because as I said in the PowerPoint, the biggest thing is not just creating your blogs, but making sure they link to other links within your site and other sites. I'm going to talk about this. So this is a blog I've wrote about Zen meditation, but I've wrote a lot of blogs about meditation, some on other sites and some in this. So basically what I've done is that there's some links I've put to, how can you say, sites that are regarded as good evidence or people would regard as a good source of information. So I've linked it to sites that have been maybe written by Zen Buddhists or by people that really study these kind of things. And if you include links like that, just like if you were writing a blog about hypnotherapy, massage, yoga, whatever you do, if you link it to something like a medical research paper or something by what we call class as an authority, a lot of readers will actually appreciate that you're not just making it up, right?
Yes.
Because unfortunately, in this industry, if you go online, there's a lot of rubbish out there, and people write all sorts of stuff, and anything goes, and we get a lot of fake news and fake information, and a lot of it, the stuff that's on blogs, is actually written by people that have never studied any of these things. Okay, every single day I get inquiries from guest bloggers who are content writers, and they're like, these wee guys are women in India or in other countries who are trying to make a living, who have not the first information, but they'll write, oh, I want to write you a guest blog. Right? And but are they any qualified? No, they're just taking bits from the internet anywhere that they can see. So that's an example. If you include that actually can help your DA sometimes, because what it recognises, Google's clever, it's like a computer. It recognises that you're actually making sure that you're including reference back to resources that are classed as, how could you say, reliable, right? And what I have to highlight is it's more important than ever. There's been a new change in Google recently, and Google has decided to really lower the reach of many holistic blogs, right? And raise the profile of blogs that are actually written by people in the medical field. Now, I understand why, right? And the reason why is probably 90% of what is out there, or even more, is actually not written by people fully qualified in what they're writing, right? And a lot of training schools, a lot of them will make lots of claims that they cannot medically or scientifically back up. And I know that our industry is not always easy to scientifically and medically back up, but there's a lot of hearsay and a lot of misinformation. And Google, there may be two elements. I think there could be also a wee bit of conspiracy where they don't like the fact that that holistic well-being is becoming very prominent, and more people are turning to this kind of industry rather than, mainstream medicine. But there is an element also that they do not want to give, let people just, how can you say, financially source their way up at the top of Google when it's not, it's poor content. I seen a site, there was quite a few sites. I was on a kind of training course about SEO, and it must have been it was about 2 months ago, and it was interesting. It was something I took part in. I wasn't on it very long, but I got really valuable information, and it was showing you how a site that had, I can't remember exactly, I think it was something like 40 or 400,000 hits a day. This was a site that got a lot of traffic, and it was actually an American site that was, it was Mama something, and it was like blogs for new mums with new babies, right? And it had, had so much information on it, and it showed you how it had got that traffic on one day, and then it bombed down to like, it was either 4,000 or 9,000 or something hits from one day, but when Google changed, right? Now, I have the link somewhere. I checked it out again, and what's happened is, so you can imagine if they had a really lucrative business, they were probably paying a lot of people to do a lot of things to keep that site running. And then suddenly it's plummeted. What they did was, I went back on, I think it was last week or the week before, and I went on to check, and the site has actually went through every person that's been a guest blogger. They've actually got a doctor now to approve it. So add a doctor to the bio. And a doctor has approved each post, because the reason it got bombed down was it was just bloggers that were writing. Some were therapists, but it was not saying, so they were maybe writing about things about colic for a baby, they were writing things about children's health. These were people that, in Google's eyes, were not medically trained. Right. So what I've done with the world of health, I've actually approached, I've got some doctors that are going to be writing, holistic doctors that are going to be writing on the world of health, because my site got hurt because it is a holistic health information site. My site has took a bit of a dent, but I'm taking strategies to change that. So that gives you an example, right?
Wow, thank you.
So one of the things I would say is, is think about when you're writing your bio that you include all your qualifications, right? And, what I'm doing is getting guest bloggers and making sure the guest bloggers in the world of health, that's why I'm really pushing that people have certain qualifications. I'm getting people in that maybe, I've got a girl that's writing for me, it's got a master's degree in nutraceuticals, so for nutrition, so getting people like that to make sure that the site is getting seen as an authority site, that it's not just written by anybody. Because sadly nowadays we get people that are stating they've got a diploma in nutrition. They've maybe done a 2-day course or a couple of weekends, where a diploma in nutrition is usually associated with maybe a 3-year course or a 4-year course. So this is where there's a huge difference, out there. But going back to the link, so if you look here, I've just basically, this is a link I've put to Zen Enlightenment, right? So what I've done is just added a link, and then I've put a link to, now I don't usually link to Wikipedia, but in this case I have, because it was the only one I could find that really explained what, I can't even pronounce this right, Bodhisattva, whatever it is, the pronunciation, these kind of things. Now, and from Mayahana, thought, right, okay, so these are all things that are good to clarify for people. And I think, I don't know if this one, yes, I've linked this one to another page on my site. And what I do in every blog that I write, I make sure I link it to other pages on my site, so that basically Google, you've got your map that I was talking about at the beginning, right? So now, before I go, and we're just over time, I'm just going to just show you something else. So let's look at the keyword thing I was talking about. Now, I use a Yoast plugin. Now, this is free Yoast plugin, and it allows you to it analyses your page to see how good it is for SEO. Right? And this is really good. It saves you so much time. So basically, what you can do is check now. The readability is not very good, right? So I'll tell you why that happens. Often the readability is not very good if you put a lot of quotes in, or I've put quotes in a lot of them because it's meditation quotes, or you put bullet points. But some blogs, it's the only way that you'll relate to the audience, by putting bullet points, right? But for SEO, this is what you really want to make sure. So I have used Zen meditation for my keyword, because it's a meditation that people look for, but it's not one that there's many people use as a keyword, right? And if you see, so what happens, it tells you I've got outbound links. That means that I've put links from that elsewhere, so that's good. I've got internal links. I've used the key phrase, and this is another important thing, I've used the key phrase in the title. So you should always use your key phrase in your title. And also a little trick as well is as close to the beginning of the paragraph. I need to come back up here. It doesn't always look right or sound right, but as close to the beginning of the paragraph as possible, the keyword that you're chosen. That just helps with Google. Sometimes it doesn't look right, but there are a few things that can really help. But I would say to you, if you get the Yoast plugin, again, you do not have to. If you're just a beginner, don't go for the page. You can always buy the paid one for certain things if you want to advance. But for just certain types of sites, basic sites, the Yoast free plugin is really good. And it's a great way, if you don't know what you're doing, just to remind you of things that it tells you if you've got enough key phrases, or if your key phrases are too many times in your blog, if you've got the right meta description, all these things. It also checks that you've got enough text in your SEO title width. Now, there's so much I could go into here. Now, what I do plan to do is actually do some paid programs on this, but I wanted to get this because I think this is really important for people, because if you're going to do a blog, you want to start doing some of those things right away, because the benefits are huge. Because what's happening is a lot of people are approaching their blogs and they're coming from the wrong angle. So they're writing blogs that are never going to be seen. But if you start doing this in your business right way, see 3, 6 months, a couple of years down the line, you've got this content that's out in the search engines and is going to be found. So I hope that makes sense.
Yes. I've got a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course. Mm-hmm.
Just how long, what word length should the blogs be, and how frequently should we do them?
You can do them as many as you want. Now, so how long your title, is that what you said?
No, like how should they be, 20 words or 300 words or 500 words?
A blog should be at least 800 words.
800 words, right.
There is some, I'll be honest, there's some I've done shorter now. See, this is quite Zen meditation is not easy. It's like a lot of things that most people are not familiar with. So say, for example, it's a subject that is, like, when I write about some Indian type meditation or Buddhism, sometimes it's kind of principles that people don't understand. So they don't always want a lot of information if you're going to. They just want to know the basics of what it is, so it depends on what kind it is. But for your site, you'll get more hits if it's actually near the 2,000.
Oh, okay. Oh,
that's interesting, because you think it would be
shorter, people would read more.
Well, I'm saying that now, that's a generic if it's really good information you're given. But if, say, you're new, right, if you're new to the industry and you're not really confident about, a lot, sometimes when you're new to the industry, we're just starting to get our knowledge and get our confidence. It's better, obviously, having a shorter blog with good content than rabbiting on and not sounding as if you know what you're talking about. It definitely is. But if you're someone that's got a lot of knowledge in an area and you can write an interesting blog, a really good informative blog about 2,000 words can really help. So it can be a personal choice. Now, there was another question you had there. What was that?
Which is more, how frequently should you do them?
However, whatever you want. I mean, sometimes it's a good sort of, if you want to do it so that your readers, you maybe get into a sort of system where you say, right, I'm going to do 1 or 2 a month, or I'm going to do 1 every week, and you get your audience to know. So it depends. What I would say is, sometimes it's not always, I've had to do this and it's not always the wisest thing to do, put a lot out and then suddenly I don't have time to do them regularly, right? And your audience then can maybe expect more and you're not putting it out. The only thing that sometimes when you've built it over a few years, you have a lot of content that you can reshare. So I share a lot of, I mean, I've got blogs that are maybe 4 or 5 years old. So I can go back and share a lot of that content, over and over again, so it's not so bad that people maybe don't always see it or remember it. So, that's one of the things. And one of the things as well is, while we're talking about this, is a lot of people in our industry, I don't know why this happens. I don't know if it's because they sometimes feel as if they're struggling to get the business going, but they're frightened about sharing other people's blogs or content. But particularly in social media, it's really good to give your audience what the audience want, rather than just your stuff. Someone that's confident in their skills will not be frightened to share other people's content. Now, it doesn't mean that you share content that's exactly about what you're doing, but it can be still helpful content or tips that is going to help your type of audience. And that's all about building that nurturing and trust process. If you're not willing to share to your audience, you're not building that trust. You're not giving your audience what they want. And I always find when you're generous with your audience, they know that. They know that you're not, and they trust that when you're not willing to, you're doing it for the best interest. So that's, Any other questions, Lana?
No, that was it. Thank you.
And I'm just going to check because I don't know if John's been able to. No, he's not. It's okay. That's fine. So, I mean, that's all I wanted to because there is so much to this subject. Obviously, I've packed in quite a lot to give you a feel. But if you do this, I know people that are spending quite a few £100 a month just to be in Google, the top of Google. So they're doing that. Now, I'm not saying this can be time consuming, but if someone's on a low budget but has time, that's where it's about thinking, right, okay, long term. The thing about paying for Google advertising is, you can go to your site, and if you've got a lead magnet, you might get them on your newsletter. But other than that, that's a temporary thing, where if you write a blog, it's on the site forever, as long as you want it. So that's what we call evergreen content that people can find in the long term. So it's a better investment of your time and energy. It's even like things like Facebook Lives, even though Facebook Lives and videos all have their place, and I would say videos on websites work very well as well, blogs still have their place in generating information. And also, if you, going back to the topic, if you're doing things like even the relaxation therapy training where people maybe don't exactly know what it is, this is where blogs can really, really help educate your audience why they help. So you're basically have the ability to show why something can help them, and you can get into so many areas that is not always clear in certain types of marketing. And you can talk about all sorts of subjects and pain points that they have. So I hope that helps, Lana. And I'm sorry.
Very helpful, yes. Very helpful and
I'm
interesting.
sorry I went on as long.
Yes, no, that's great. All good stuff. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. So is that us then? Yeah?
Yes.
Brilliant. Okay. So, I mean, what you'll be able to watch this, I'll get the recording and you'll be able to, re-watch this. And, what I did plan, I'll not be, doing this right away, but what I do plan is maybe to get, if people are interested, a small group where people, even the World of Health community group, if people start blogging, this is where I could be sharing information. I'm not really want to be putting a lot of work in if people are not biting. you know, but it's a lot of times this is why I'm posting the things I do in the world of health, because everyone's going to benefit, but it's like people don't recognise why they could benefit for commenting someone else's post, or why they could benefit from doing certain things. So this is what it's all about. Okay. So thank you for joining us, and you know, for those of you who's watching, I hope this helps. Okay, so good evening to everyone. Okay, bye for now.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.